Hello again, dear friend. Come sit with me for a while, just here on this quiet porch, where the breeze smells like lavender and old cedar wood. The birds are already up gossiping in the maple trees, and the sun is just beginning to spill across the garden, turning morning dew into tiny pearls of light. You've brought your coffee or tea, I hope. Today feels like a good day to dream up something beautiful. You know, there's a certain kind of magic in walking through a thrift store or the Dollar Tree. Not because everything is perfect, quite the opposite, really. It's because things there have stories. A chipped teacup, a rusty ladder, a drawer with no dresser to call home. They sit quietly on shelves, waiting for someone with kind eyes and a bit of imagination to give them a second chance. And that someone just might be you. The truth is, you don't need a big budget or brand new supplies to make your garden feel rich with life. You don't even need strong hands or endless energy. All you need is a little time, a sprinkle of creativity, and the willingness to see beauty where others might not. Because in this season of life, this golden, reflective, quietly powerful season, you've learned that what's truly valuable rarely comes with a price tag. So today, I want to walk with you through 23 peaceful, magical little garden ideas, all made from items you might already have or can find for just a few dollars. We'll turn trash into treasure scraps, into sculptures, and forgotten odds and ends into pure joy. Whether you're working with a porch, a patio, or a patch of land as humble as a sandbox, you'll find something here that speaks to your soul and makes you proud of what you've created. And remember, every bloom in your garden is a whisper of thanks for the care you give. Every light you hang, every pot you fill, it's all part of the quiet story your hands are still telling. Let's begin. Do you remember that old metal colander you used for Sunday spaghetti dinners, the one with a dent on the side and handles worn smooth with time? Maybe it's sitting under your sink or tucked away in the garage. Most folks would pass it off as junk. But today, we're going to turn it into something that glimmers and sings. Start by flipping the colander upside down. Those little holes that once drained water from noodles, they're about to become tiny, starry portals. Place a small solar-powered water pump beneath it. You can find one at Dollar Tree or any garden center for just a few dollars. Thread warm white fairy lights through the colander's holes, letting the delicate bulbs poke out like fireflies. Once everything is in place, plug in the pump, or let it charge with sunlight. What happens next is nothing short of magic. Water gently bubbles up and trickles down through the colander like a miniature waterfall, while the fairy lights twinkle, catching every drop. It's like your garden has discovered how to whisper. Place this setup beside your favorite chair near a potted hydrangea or tucked beneath a shady tree. The soothing sound of water, soft, steady, never harsh, invites calm. It's a perfect background for reading, resting, or simply watching the light shift as the day goes by. And here's the real gift. No plumbing, no hard wiring, no digging. Just a bit of imagination and a few pieces others might have thrown away. This fountain isn't just a decoration. It's a reminder that beauty flows even through the smallest holes. That light still shines even from something as simple as a kitchen strainer. And that you, dear friend, still have the power to make ordinary moments shimmer. Sometimes we think we need more to feel peaceful, more money, more energy, more supplies. But peace often comes from just letting things be what they are and seeing what they might become. There's something almost poetic about a broken pot. We've all had one, maybe it tipped over in a windstorm or cracked from frost during a long winter. Most people would toss it in the trash without a second thought. But let's pause, because today that broken pot becomes the beginning of a fairy tale. Start by gathering the pieces of your cracked terracotta pot. If needed, gently break it further into curved shards of varying sizes. Don't worry about precision, a little irregularity makes the magic. Now imagine those pieces as tiny stone steps or walls. Arrange them winding upward like a miniature staircase against a tree trunk or nestled into a garden bed. You're building a fairy path, a gentle spiral where imagination and earth meet. Between the gaps, tuck in bits of moss, creeping thyme, or tiny succulents. If your hands are steady, add a few pebbles for steps or miniature garden figures. Maybe a ceramic toadstool or a ladybug no bigger than your fingernail. Want to go a step further? Nestle a strand of solar-powered fairy lights beneath the edges so the steps glow faintly at dusk, like tiny lanterns guiding the way home. This project doesn't ask for strength, no bending, no hammering, no lifting. Just a quiet space, your hands, and your sense of wonder. You can even do this seated at a potting table or raised bed, crafting each piece with care. And when it's done, oh, what a sight. Guests will pause to look closer. Grandchildren might invent entire worlds around it. And you'll smile each time you pass, knowing that what was once broken is now storytelling in bloom. Because life has a way of cracking us a little too. But like that pot, you still hold purpose, still hold beauty. And sometimes it's in the breaks that the magic sneaks through like fairy lights beneath a garden path. Remember the warm crackle of a vinyl record before the music even began. The way it filled the room not just with sound, but with feeling. These days, scratched old records may no longer play music, but that doesn't mean they've lost their rhythm. If you've got a few lying around or spot some for pennies at the thrift store, gather them up. Today, they're becoming spinning garden sculptures that dance with the wind and shimmer in the sun. To start, choose a few vinyl records with deep grooves. Drill small drainage holes in each. This is important if you plan to place pots on them or leave them outdoors. Now mount them creatively. One idea is to secure them at varying heights on wooden stakes or metal poles along your garden path or fence. Let some sit horizontally as saucers under large planters, while others stand vertically to catch breezes and light. As the wind passes through your space, the records will gently rotate their glossy black surfaces, reflecting sunlight like rippling water. Some folks even paint them in soft garden tones or add mosaic glass along the edges to catch even more sparkle. Here's a tip for accessibility: use planter stands or fence mounts that let you work at waist level. No stooping or ladder climbing needed, just a screwdriver, a steady surface, and a little patience. This is garden art you can build right from your porch table. These vinyl pieces don't just look beautiful, they move. They respond to nature's touch. They bring soundless rhythm to your space, like a silent dance echoing the joy of music once played. And maybe that's what makes them special. They've lost their original voice, but not their spirit. Just like so many of us, still here, still moving, still reflecting light in new ways. So let your garden spin, let it shimmer. And remember, even if something no longer works the way it once did, it can still be part of something beautiful. Picture this: a wobbly old wooden ladder leaning sadly in the corner of a garage sale, its rungs loose, its legs uneven. To most, it's firewood at best. But in your hands, dear friend, it becomes a garden spiral, reaching toward the sky, or at least toward the scent of basil and thyme on a summer breeze. Begin by laying the ladder horizontally on the ground. You can prop it against a slight slope, or simply let it rest flat in a sunny spot. Each rung becomes a pocket, a separate chapter in your herb-growing story. Place planter liner, coconut coir, or landscape fabric in each space between the rungs to hold the soil. You don't need fancy tools, just scissors and a little care. Now for the fun part: plant herbs from smallest to tallest, creating a gentle spiral of greenery. At one end, tuck in low-growing friends like thyme and oregano. In the middle, let parsley and cilantro take their place. And at the far end, where the sunlight lingers longest, plant bolder herbs like rosemary, sage, or even a fragrant lavender for color and charm. This garden ladder doesn't require kneeling or deep digging. You can tend each section from a seated position or standing nearby with your garden gloves on. And because it's segmented, it stays tidy. No weeding battles, no soil spillovers. Over time, the herbs will stretch and tumble gently over the ladder's worn edges, their leaves brushing one another like the pages of an open book. Every time you pluck a sprig for your soup or tea, it feels like harvesting a bit of your own wisdom. And the smells, oh, the smells. Fresh basil in the morning light, rosemary warmed by the afternoon sun. It's like your garden is singing a savory lullaby. You see, it's not just a clever planting idea. It's a reminder that old crooked things can still hold order, that a ladder long retired from climbing can become something that grows, and that in every season of life there's still time to plant something new, even if we do it from a gentler pace. So let your garden rise one rung at a time. There's no rush. Only flavor, beauty, and peace, all right there within reach. Have you ever stood in a thrift store aisle and spotted a lonely little teacup? Maybe its saucer was mismatched or its rim carried a tiny chip. It might have reminded you of your mother's china or the tea parties your daughter held with her dolls. Well, today, that delicate cup is about to host a different kind of gathering, one filled with wings and song. The idea is simple, but the result is absolutely enchanting. Gather a few thrifted teacups and saucers, the more mismatched the better. Look for patterns that bring you joy. Soft florals, faded gold trim, even those cheerful 1970s colors. Then find an old metal coat rack. You'll often see them for a few dollars at secondhand stores or curbside on trash day. Now, with strong glue or sturdy wire, attach each teacup and saucer to a hook or branch of the coat rack. Position them at varying heights to create visual interest and accommodate different bird sizes. Fill some with birdseed, others with fresh water, and perhaps nestle a tiny succulent or marigold into a few for color. Place your teacup tree near a window or patio chair where you can enjoy the show. Morning becomes magical when you sip your own tea while watching a cardinal nibble from delicate china. Sparrows splash in saucers and finches perch like royalty on porcelain rims. And the best part, this bird cafe is elevated, no need for bending or stooping to refill or enjoy it. You can maintain the whole thing from a comfortable standing or seated height, perfect for older hands or anyone with limited mobility. Beyond the charm and chirps, this project is a celebration of dignity in both objects and creatures. A chipped cup still holds sweetness. A second-hand rack still holds life. And even the smallest birds, unnoticed by most, find nourishment in the hands of someone who still sees beauty in quiet places. So next time you see a lonely teacup, remember it may not pour tea anymore, but it can still pour joy. Maybe you've seen it, an old dresser tossed beside the road, missing knobs, one leg, crooked, the drawers hanging loose like tired shoulders. Most passers-by don't give it a second glance. But not you. Because hidden in those broken drawers is a waterfall waiting to bloom. Start by gently removing the drawers. You don't need the entire dresser frame, just the wooden boxes. Give each a light sanding if needed, wiping away any splinters or dust. Then arrange them on your fence porch steps or a corner wall in a gentle descending pattern like stairs tipped on their side. You can stack a few at different angles, attach them to a wooden pallet, or mount them directly to a fence post using strong screws or brackets. Now it's time to plant. Choose trailing flowers that will spill over the edges like flowing fabric, sweet potato vine, petunias, nasturtiums, or creeping jenny. Fill each drawer with good potting soil, but don't overstuff. You want room for the roots and room for the plants to tumble. As the weeks go by, you'll watch the magic unfold. Blooms begin to tumble like a cascade, reaching from one drawer to the next. It's a living waterfall of color, vibrant and wild, yet somehow elegantly structured. And because it's built upward, not out, it's friendly to small spaces and easy to tend without kneeling. The beauty of this design is that it changes with the seasons. In spring, it may be filled with pansies and violas. In summer, you'll see bold, bright blooms. Come autumn, let ornamental kale or trailing ivy take center stage. And each season, the worn wood of the drawers adds rustic charm, reminding you of the story behind the structure. You didn't just save a piece of furniture from the landfill. You gave it purpose again. A place to hold life. A place to spill joy. Because here's the truth, things like people may fall apart. They may get left behind. But with care, they can be transformed. They can bloom in new ways. And what could be more hopeful than that? Do you remember those evenings when you'd sit outside just as the sun was slipping behind the trees and everything turned gold for a moment? The kind of light that makes you stop and breathe a little slower. With just a few simple touches, you can bring that golden glow into your garden every evening, and it costs less than a dinner out. Start with a few solar-powered pathway lights from Dollar Tree. They're small, lightweight, and perfect for upcycling. Remove the lights from their plastic stakes. You'll only need the tops that contain the solar cell and bulb. Now comes the fun part. Find an old wire basket, hanging fruit bowl, or even the same colander we mentioned earlier. Turn it into the base of your chandelier. Using floral wire or zip ties, securely fasten the solar lights around the rim, spacing them evenly so each light hangs downward like a crystal on a grand chandelier. Once your chandelier is assembled, hang it from a sturdy tree branch, a shepherd's hook, or the ceiling of your covered porch. Let it charge all day in the sun, and when dusk comes, your garden will glow with gentle light. No cords, no plugs, no fuss. This isn't just lighting. It's atmosphere. It's the quiet flicker that turns a late summer supper into a memory. It's the kind of project that takes almost no effort but brings immeasurable warmth to your evenings. And it's completely senior-friendly, lightweight, no climbing, no tools beyond a pair of scissors or pliers. You can even assemble it indoors at the kitchen table, then hang it with the help of a loved one or a nearby hook already in place. So when you next see those humble 1.25 solar lights at the store, don't see limitations. See potential, see starlight. See a chandelier not made for ballrooms but for backyards where laughter is soft and the beauty is real. Because sometimes elegance doesn't need a price tag. It only needs your hands, your patience, and your belief that even the simplest light can make an evening unforgettable. There's a certain charm in old suitcases, the kind with scuffed leather brass clasps and stories tucked inside. You can almost imagine where they've been train stations, honeymoons maybe packed for college back in the 60s. But even if they never leave your porch again, they still have one more journey to make into your garden. To begin, find an old hard-shell suitcase at the thrift store or tucked away in your attic. It doesn't matter if the latches are broken or the lining is worn. In fact, those signs of age only add to its character. Line the inside with heavy-duty plastic sheeting or a trash bag, folding it neatly to create a water barrier. Use a utility knife to cut drainage holes through the plastic and the suitcase's bottom. Then add a shallow layer of gravel or broken pottery for drainage, followed by rich potting soil. Now plant your herbs. Choose a variety you love, maybe basil, parsley, thyme, or even a few sprigs of mint. Because the container is shallow, opt for compact varieties or keep them trimmed to stay neat. If your suitcase is large, consider planting in sections with each herb having its own corner. Here's the beauty of it: you can move this garden. Shift it into the sunniest part of your patio in the morning or roll it into the shade during heat waves. If frost is coming, simply close the lid gently or bring it under cover for the night. Flexibility like this is a gift, especially for those of us who need to sit while gardening or avoid heavy lifting. As the weeks go by, you'll notice your little suitcase filling out with fragrance and color. Open the lid in the morning and be greeted by the scent of rosemary or lemon balm. Harvest what you need with scissors and let the rest keep growing, a living recipe book planted with your own hands. And just like that, a forgotten travel companion becomes the vessel for new life. No passport required. Just sunlight, water, and care. Because even if we don't travel like we used to, we can still grow. We can still begin again wherever we are with whatever we have. Imagine walking past an old farmhouse window, the kind with peeling paint and no glass, and seeing it not as junk, but as a frame for something alive. A frame for something new. That's the spirit of today's idea, and it might just become your favorite wall in the garden. Start with a window frame you can often find at estate sales, flea markets, or even roadside cleanup days. Choose one with solid wood, even if the paint is chipped, that just adds character. The glass panes can be missing or removed entirely, leaving behind open sections. Flip the frame over and stretch hardware cloth, chicken wire, or even thick garden netting across the back. Use a staple gun or tacks to hold it securely. Once that's in place, attach small terracotta pots or recycled tin cans to the grid using wire hooks or even zip ties. Try to vary the height slightly. This helps your living window look full and natural. Now it's time to plant. In each little pot, tuck in a variety of flowers, herbs, or succulents. You might fill one section with pansies, another with trailing ivy, and a third with tiny basil or oregano. For a touch of magic, weave a solar fairy light string around the frame's edges, so it glows at night like a lantern on the wall. Mount the whole piece on a fence shed, or even the outside of your home. It's a vertical garden that doesn't take up precious ground space, ideal for smaller patios or areas where bending and digging aren't easy. You can care for it standing upright, changing out the plants with the seasons. In spring, let it bloom bright with violets and marigolds. In summer, go fragrant with mint and lemon balm. And in fall, maybe tuck in small mums or ornamental kale for cooler days. But more than that, this frame becomes a symbol of looking through old things and seeing new life, of reframing what's past into something purposeful and present. Your garden wall becomes a story, one only you could tell, one that changes each season with the plants you choose and the love you give. It's not just vertical gardening. It's a window into wonder, a place where every pot, every bloom whispers, "Look again, there's more beauty still to come." There's something deeply peaceful about water, the way it holds the sky's reflection, the gentle ripples with every breeze, the stillness that calms the spirit. And you don't need a pond or a pump to bring that serenity into your garden. All you need are 3 simple bowls and a little imagination. At the thrift store, look for ceramic or glass bowls in 3 different sizes. They don't have to match. In fact, it's better if they don't. A tall, deep blue one, a shallow floral dish, maybe a wide, earth-toned bowl with cracks along the glaze. These become your trio of calm. Place them in a group, one raised on a plant stand, one on a low table, and one tucked right into the soil or nestled among hostas. The variation in height adds visual interest, and the bowls reflect light differently throughout the day. Fill each with water, and already you've begun. Now add your magic. Floating candles, a few pebbles at the bottom, or small water plants like miniature lotus or duckweed. A single Marimo moss ball adds texture, while a solar light nearby can turn each bowl into a gentle glowing orb come evening. If you want movement, drop in a few glass beads or shells, little treasures that sparkle under the surface. And here's the gift: no maintenance beyond the occasional water top-off. No bending, no digging. Just a quiet addition to your patio or garden path that brings instant tranquility. In the evenings, you might light the floating candles and sit nearby with your tea. The flames reflect softly on the water's surface like tiny wishes flickering in the breeze. During the day, butterflies may visit, and the birds might come down to sip. Even the wind seems to hush a little near this space. These bowls become more than decoration. They are altars to stillness. They remind you that even small things, a thrifted bowl, a flicker of light, a few drops of water, can carry enormous peace. And in a world that often rushes and demands, your little trio of water says something different. Slow down. Look closer. Let your heart rest here a while. Because peace isn't something you buy. It's something you arrange gently, bowl by bowl. You've probably seen them before, those simple wire tomato cages lined up at the garden center waiting for someone to prop up their plants. But what if I told you that turned upside down, they could become the elegant sculptural centerpiece your garden's been missing? Begin with 1 or 2 of those inexpensive wire cages, the kind with 3 rings and pointed legs. Flip them so the narrow end is facing up like a cone. You've just created the perfect framework for a garden topiary that costs next to nothing but looks like it came from a designer catalog. Now gently secure the legs into the soil of a planter or directly in your garden bed. Wrap the cage with garden twine or jute if you'd like a rustic texture, or leave it bare for a more modern look. Then plant a fast-growing climber at the base, morning glory, sweet pea, black-eyed Susan vine, or even a small ivy. Over the next few weeks, the plant will naturally climb and spiral around the form, creating a lush green cone of beauty. For accessibility, consider placing the topiary in a raised container or barrel, so you can tend to it without kneeling. As it grows, you can trim or guide the vines gently while standing or sitting nearby, a peaceful meditative task that requires no heavy lifting or strain. If you enjoy a little evening magic, you can weave a strand of solar fairy lights through the wire, or wrap it with soft white twinkle bulbs. As dusk falls, your topiary becomes a glowing sculpture, elegant and serene. These cone shapes add vertical interest to your garden, drawing the eye upward and giving your space a sense of structure and sophistication. They also break up the flatness of beds and create that layered professional look without professional prices. But most of all, this project is about perspective. It's about seeing something ordinary, a wire cage, and recognizing its hidden potential, turning it on its head quite literally, and watching something unexpectedly beautiful take shape. Just like life, isn't it? Sometimes all it takes is a small shift in view and suddenly everything blooms differently. You've seen them before, those stackable plastic milk crates often tucked behind grocery stores or piled high in thrift shops. Sturdy, humble, and easy to move. Today, they're not just storage, they're going to become your most flexible, senior-friendly garden beds yet. Start by collecting a few crates, 3, 5, maybe even more depending on the space you have. Line each one with landscape fabric burlap or even an old pillowcase to hold the soil while still allowing drainage. Fill them with rich potting mix and you're ready to plant. What makes this setup so wonderful is its adaptability. In the spring, you can place the crates low to the ground for starting leafy greens or cool weather herbs. In summer, stack them 2 or 3 high to create waist-level planting beds, no bending, no strain. Rearranging them is as simple as lifting and setting them down. Lightweight and open underneath, they allow airflow and are gentle on your joints. You can grow anything in these strawberries, tumbling over the edges, kale standing tall in the middle, or even flowers to brighten up a dull corner. And because each crate is separate, you can rotate them based on sun patterns. Isolate a sick plant or replant a section without disturbing the others. Want more color? Spray paint the crates in soft garden tones, sage green robin's egg blue, a warm sunflower yellow, or leave them as is for a rustic urban farmhouse feel. Add little chalkboard signs, wooden plant markers, or even solar lights tucked between them. This garden grows with you. It changes as your needs change, lower when you're feeling strong, taller when your back asks for mercy. In the fall, you can simply lift each crate, dump the soil into your compost pile, and store the stack neatly until spring. And here's the secret gift when you're feeling a little off, or the world feels a bit too fast. Just rearranging your crates, touching soil, choosing what goes where becomes a quiet act of reclaiming peace. It's not just about growing food or flowers. It's about growing control, creativity, and joy, one crate at a time. Because sometimes the best gardens don't stay the same. They move, shift, adapt just like we do. And that, dear friend, is a beautiful thing. There's something wonderfully tender about an old pair of boots. Scuffed from seasons of work, soles worn thin from honest steps, they carry the shape of a person's journey. So when you see a pair tossed aside, whether they're rain boots, cowboy boots, or old gardening shoes, don't look away. Look closer, because those boots are ready to bloom. This project is as charming as it is symbolic. Start by gathering a few pairs of worn footwear from your own closet, a neighbor's donation, or a visit to the thrift store. The more character, the better. A muddy garden boot, a plaid-lined rain boot, even a leather work boot with its laces still tied. Drill a few drainage holes in the soles, or if they're already cracked, even better. Fill each with a bit of gravel, then rich potting soil. Plant cheerful annuals that spill over marigolds, petunias, alyssum, or trailing lobelia. These bright, easy growers give instant life to your planters without demanding much in return. Now comes the fun part. Arrange them along a garden path, porch step, or under a shady tree. Line them like stepping stones, each boot slightly turned or tilted as if they'd been left behind mid-walk. Some gardeners even add a name tag or paint a little memory on each, perhaps a year, a place, or a loved one. And here's what's so special about this idea. No heavy lifting, no digging. Each boot can be prepped at a table or workbench. You can create your pathway slowly, one planter at a time, savoring the process. As the days pass, your boot path will change. Flowers will grow fuller, colors will shift, and the old soles, once stiff and forgotten, will soften into something storybook sweet. Visitors will pause to smile. Children will point. Birds may hop between the blooms. And you'll know that those retired boots found new purpose not on feet, but in giving joy. Because, dear friend, our paths don't always go forward. Sometimes they circle back, sometimes they pause. But with a little care, even the steps we no longer take can still lead to something beautiful. There's something wonderfully tender about an old pair of boots. Scuffed from seasons of work, soles worn thin from honest steps, they carry the shape of a person's journey. So when you see a pair tossed aside, whether they're rain boots, cowboy boots, or old gardening shoes, don't look away. Look closer, because those boots are ready to bloom. This project is as charming as it is symbolic. Start by gathering a few pairs of worn footwear from your own closet, a neighbor's donation, or a visit to the thrift store. The more character, the better. A muddy garden boot, a plaid-lined rain boot, even a leather work boot with its laces still tied. Drill a few drainage holes in the soles, or if they're already cracked, even better. Fill each with a bit of gravel, then rich potting soil. Plant cheerful annuals that spill over marigolds, petunias, alyssum, or trailing lobelia. These bright, easy growers give instant life to your planters without demanding much in return. Now comes the fun part. Arrange them along a garden path, porch step, or under a shady tree. Line them like stepping stones, each boot slightly turned or tilted as if they'd been left behind mid-walk. Some gardeners even add a name tag or paint a little memory on each, perhaps a year, a place, or a loved one. And here's what's so special about this idea. No heavy lifting, no digging. Each boot can be prepped at a table or workbench. You can create your pathway slowly, one planter at a time, savoring the process. As the days pass, your boot path will change. Flowers will grow fuller, colors will shift, and the old soles once stiff and forgotten will soften into something storybook sweet. Visitors will pause to smile. Children will point. Birds may hop between the blooms. And you'll know that those retired boots found new purpose not on feet, but in giving joy. Because, dear friend, our paths don't always go forward. Sometimes they circle back. Sometimes they pause. But with a little care, even the steps we no longer take can still lead to something beautiful. If you've ever spent more time looking for your trowel than actually using it, you're not alone. Garden tools have a sneaky way of hiding under bags of soil behind the watering can, or somewhere you just had it a second ago. But what if I told you that all it takes is one pegboard to bring peace to that cluttered chaos? The next time you're at Dollar Tree or the hardware store, look for a lightweight pegboard. Even a small one will do. Mount it to the inside of your garden shed door, the back wall of your porch, or even directly on your fence. A few nails or zip ties are all it takes to make it sturdy. Now add hooks. You don't need anything fancy. S-hooks, bent wire, or inexpensive pegboard kits work perfectly. Hang your essentials: gloves, hand trowel, pruning shears, seed packets, a little brush for cleaning your pots. You can even hang plastic Dollar Tree baskets to hold plant markers, twine, or seed-starting cups. Labeling isn't necessary, but it adds a certain joy. Chalkboard tags, wooden labels, or even just masking tape and a Sharpie. Suddenly your tools aren't just organized. They're honored. They're easy to find. And your gardening rhythm flows like a gentle breeze instead of a scattered storm. Best of all, this system is incredibly senior-friendly. No reaching into dark corners or lifting heavy bins. Everything is at eye level or within a gentle reach. If you ever need to rearrange, it's as simple as moving a hook. For an extra touch of beauty, paint your pegboard in a calming garden color: sky blue, soft green, or antique cream. Add a sprig of dried lavender or a pressed flower in a corner frame. Your workspace becomes a sanctuary, not just a storage zone. Because organization isn't just about neatness. It's about self-care. It's about saving your energy for what you love: planting, tending, watching things grow, instead of wasting it on frustration. So let your pegboard bring peace. Let it hold your tools, your rhythms, your little garden rituals. And let it remind you that even in the simplest acts, hanging up a pair of gloves, placing scissors back where they belong, there is grace. Once upon a time, that old Bundt cake pan filled your kitchen with the scent of cinnamon, vanilla, or warm chocolate. But maybe it's been sitting unused for years, a little rust around the edges, memories baked in deep. Well, today, that same pan is going from cupboard to centerpiece and becoming a living wreath you can admire season after season. To begin, find a vintage Bundt or tube pan at the thrift store, even one with a few chips or scratches. These pans are perfect because their circular shape naturally draws the eye, and their center hole adds interest and airiness. Drill a few drainage holes along the base. Then fill the pan with a mix of cactus soil and sand for proper drainage. You can even place a thin layer of pebbles at the bottom to help water move through more easily. Now it's time to plant your living wreath. Choose small succulents with varying textures, shapes, and colors like hens and chicks, Sedum echeveria, or stonecrop. Begin placing the largest ones evenly spaced around the circle. Then fill in with trailing varieties and tiny pops of contrast. Use a spoon or your fingers to gently tuck them in. No rush, no stress, just quiet arranging. As your succulents grow, they'll start to fill the space and create a lush, low-maintenance masterpiece. And because succulents thrive on minimal water, you don't need to worry about daily upkeep. Just a little sun and the occasional mist, and they'll reward you with slow, steady beauty. Place your wreath on a patio table, outdoor bench, or even hang it with a ribbon from a shaded garden hook. It's a conversation starter, a memory maker, Guests might not realize at first that it was once a baking pan, but you'll know. And that makes it even more special. The best part, you can create this project entirely seated on a table or workbench. No lifting, no digging, no straining. Just gentle hands and quiet time. This little wreath becomes a symbol of transformation from flower to flowers, from cake to creation. It tells the story that usefulness doesn't end with age and beauty doesn't fade with purpose. So let your Bundt pan bloom. Let it remind you that you are still growing, still creating, still filling the circle in new and unexpected ways. Every garden has its stories: the basil you planted for your granddaughter's favorite pasta, the lavender that reminds you of your wedding bouquet, the tomatoes that always make you smile. But as time goes on, it's easy to forget what was planted where or when. That's where this next idea comes in: plant markers that are both functional and full of rustic charm, made from something you may already have: old fence pickets. If a neighbor has done a fence renovation recently, or you've got leftover wood from an old project, ask for the pickets. Don't worry if they're weathered or chipped, that's the beauty of it. These pieces have already stood strong through wind, rain, and sun. Now they'll take on a gentler job. Start by cutting the pickets into smaller lengths. Anywhere from 6 to 12 inches works well. Sand the edges lightly so they feel soft in your hands. Then give them a coat of chalkboard paint or outdoor wood stain. You can leave them natural for a farmhouse feel or paint them cheerful colors that brighten your garden beds. Now comes the personal touch. Use a white paint pen, chalk, or a waterproof marker to write the names of your plants, planting dates, or even sweet little notes like grandma's peas or picked for poppy. Stick the labels into the soil next to each plant or along garden borders, varying the heights for a playful look. These markers do more than organize, they tell a story. They help you remember when to harvest, when you planted, and what you're watching grow. They're also incredibly helpful for senior gardeners. No more guessing what those tiny sprouts are. Everything is visible, labeled, and easy to update. Better still, making these can be done entirely from a seated position. Use a small miter box for cutting, or ask someone to help with the prep. Then spend a peaceful afternoon painting and labeling with a warm drink by your side. It's a task as soothing as it is useful. And maybe, just maybe, those weathered pickets, once a boundary, a barrier, now become something else entirely. A signpost of care. A message to yourself and to anyone who passes by. This garden matters. These plants have purpose. This space is loved. Because even old boundaries, when softened by time and touched by creativity, can help new life take root. There's a quiet romance to a vintage birdcage. Once meant to hold songbirds behind delicate bars, it now waits patiently on a thrift store shelf, empty, ornate, forgotten. But in your hands, it becomes something more. A place not of captivity, but of blooming freedom. Look for a birdcage with an open top or wide side door, preferably metal with lovely scrollwork or aged patina. It doesn't matter if it's missing a perch or if the bottom is rusty. That character is part of its charm. Begin by placing a small coconut liner or layer of moss at the bottom, just enough to hold soil and allow for drainage. Then choose your plants. Trailing varieties work best. String of pearls, creeping Jenny Burrow's tail, or ivy will cascade down through the bars like vines from a secret garden window. You can also tuck in a few upright succulents or compact blooms near the center to give it a full, balanced look. Once planted, hang your birdcage from a shepherd's hook, a strong tree branch, or the beam of a porch. If the cage is heavy, you might choose to place it on a pedestal or table instead. No rules, just what feels right to you. As days pass, the vines will trail longer. Some may loop through the bars naturally, others may need a gentle guiding hand. The structure of the birdcage gives support and shape, while the plants soften and spill with life. This project is gentle on the body, no bending, no lifting heavy pots. You can do all the planting at table height and hang the finished piece with help or in a pre-planned spot that's safe and reachable. More than just a container, this garden sculpture becomes a focal point. When the morning light hits the dewdrops on the leaves, or the breeze makes a strand of pearls sway, it's hard not to feel like you've created something truly special. But what makes this project most powerful is its symbolism. A cage that once held something captive now lets life flow freely. It holds beauty not behind bars, but bursting through them. And maybe that's the truest kind of redemption, to take something made to confine and turn it into a vessel for freedom and growth. So let your birdcage bloom, dear friend. Let it hang where the sun can warm it and where your heart can notice it. You've given it a second life, and in doing so, reminded yourself that transformation is always possible. There's something quietly magical about gardens after dark. The soft hush of evening air, the glow of moonlight on leaves, the way shadows stretch just a little longer. With one simple and inexpensive trick, you can turn your pathways and flower beds into softly glowing rivers of light. No electrician needed, just a roll of rope lights and a bit of thoughtful placement. Pick up a strand or two of solar-powered rope lights from Dollar Tree or any budget store. These flexible light tubes are designed to bend and weave, making them perfect for edging. Choose a sunny area where the battery pack can charge during the day, then gently press the rope lights into the soil, along the border of your garden bed's paths or patio edge. You don't have to bury them deep, just enough so they follow the curves and stay put. Hide the solar panel behind a nearby plant or small decorative rock. Once the sun sets, the lights will glow with a soft, steady brilliance, not harsh or glaring, but warm like fireflies. You can guide your evening steps, light up a dinner party, or simply sit nearby and watch the world slow down. This project is gentle on the body. No tools, no digging, no climbing ladders. Everything can be done from a standing or seated position, slowly and peacefully. And if you ever want to change the layout, the lights lift easily and can be moved in minutes. For extra charm, consider pairing the rope lights with solar lanterns or small fairy statues tucked along the path. A simple garden becomes an enchanted walk. And if mobility is a concern, these lights also serve a practical purpose, preventing trips and illuminating walkways with soft safety. But more than anything, this is about atmosphere. About creating a space that welcomes you in the twilight hours when everything feels a little quieter and the heart is more open. It's about the glow that lingers after sunset, not just on the path, but in your spirit. Because gardens aren't only for the daytime, they're for wishes whispered under stars, for moments of stillness, for letting light guide the way even after dark. So let your garden shine softly and simply. You don't need grand chandeliers or expensive fixtures. Just a few humble lights placed with care and the faith that even the smallest glow can warm the night. Sometimes the most transformative moments in gardening begin with something small. A seed, a sprout, a quiet tray sitting on a windowsill. And if you've ever picked up a tarnished silver tray from a thrift store and wondered what to do with it, here's a lovely answer. Turn it into a seed starting station that feels just as elegant as it is practical. Start with a sturdy metal tray, oval, round, or rectangular. Look for one with a bit of edge to contain spills and a flat base to keep everything level. A few scratches or patina only add charm. You're not polishing it for a party, you're preparing it for possibility. Line the bottom with small pebbles or gravel for drainage. Then place your seed starting pots on top. These can be anything you like. Peat pots, repurposed yogurt cups, tiny terracotta planters, or biodegradable paper starters. Fill each with potting mix and gently press your chosen seeds into the soil, herbs, lettuce, zinnias, or anything that makes you smile. Add just enough water to create a humid environment beneath the tray's lip. The metal helps conduct gentle warmth, especially when placed near a sunny window or on a warming mat. As the days pass, the seeds begin to wake, stretching green fingers toward the light a little taller each morning. This system is perfect for indoor gardening, especially for those who prefer to work at counter height or a seated table. No need for bending or stooping in a cold garage. Everything is within reach, neat and beautiful. The tray catches any mess, and when it's time to transplant, you can carry the whole setup easily from kitchen to garden bed. You might even find joy in labeling the pots with handwritten tags: dill for salmon, zinnias for the bees, or marigolds like grandma grew. These little touches turn the process into a kind of prayer, a hope planted in soil. And here's the quiet truth of it. Starting seeds this way isn't just about saving money or growing your own food. It's about beginning again. It's about waking up a dormant corner of your spirit, one that still believes in slow miracles and small triumphs. So give that silver tray a new calling. Let it cradle the beginnings of life. Let it remind you every time you see that first sprout that beauty begins with just a little warmth, a little patience, and the courage to start something new. There it sits, an old wheelbarrow rusted around the rim, its handle worn smooth from years of hauling soil and stone. It may not be strong enough to carry heavy loads anymore, but that doesn't mean it's finished. In fact, its next chapter might be its most beautiful yet. Begin by cleaning out the wheelbarrow and checking for drainage. If the bottom is solid, drill a few holes or add a shallow layer of rocks to keep the roots happy. Then fill it with potting soil, mounding it slightly higher in the center and sloping gently down toward the edges. This creates the perfect shape for a spiral herb garden. Now imagine a gentle path spiraling inward. Use flat stone, seashells, or even broken pottery pieces to trace that winding line through the soil. This helps define the planting zones and gives the whole thing a charming structure. Plant your herbs along this spiral based on their height, and light needs shorter ones like thyme and oregano along the edges, medium height ones like basil and parsley in the midsection, and taller herbs like rosemary or sage in the center. The result is a visually striking, wonderfully fragrant arrangement that's also incredibly practical. And here's the genius of it: because it's mobile, you can move the entire wheelbarrow to chase the sun throughout the seasons. In the heat of summer, roll it into partial shade. In early spring, bring it closer to the house where warmth collects. You're not stuck gardening where the light falls, you bring the garden to the light. This is especially helpful for those with mobility challenges or changing energy levels. There's no bending over garden beds or carrying heavy pots. Everything can be reached from a seated position or standing beside it with ease. As the herbs grow, the spiral becomes more lush, a living labyrinth of color, texture, and scent. Every time you pluck a few leaves for dinner, you're reminded that flavor, healing, and beauty are still at your fingertips. And for those who visit your garden, this project tells a story of resilience, of reinvention. A tool once used for heavy labor now brings lightness and joy. A rusty wheel becomes a garden's compass, always turning toward life. So let that old wheelbarrow roll into its new purpose. Let it hold something fragrant and fresh. Let it remind you that no matter your age or strength, you can always carry something beautiful forward. Sometimes it's the tiniest shelters that make the biggest difference. A cozy shawl on a cool evening, a hand over your own heart when you need reassurance. In the garden, that small shelter might just be a Dollar Tree mason jar. Simple glass and quietly magical. This final idea is especially lovely for early spring or late fall, when tender plants need a little protection from unpredictable weather. Look for large, clear mason jars or any glass jar with a wide mouth, old pickle jars, thrifted canisters, even oversized candle holders. Wash them clean and remove any labels so the light can shine straight through. Now head out to your garden and find the seedlings or small plants that need an extra bit of warmth. Basil just sprouted, young marigolds, or delicate lettuce. Carefully place a mason jar upside down over each plant, pressing it gently into the soil to form a snug seal. What you've created is a miniature greenhouse, or as the Victorians once called them, cloches. These little glass domes trap warmth from the sun during the day and release it slowly through the night, protecting your plants from sudden chills, gusty winds, and even curious critters. The beauty of this method is in its simplicity. No need to build a full greenhouse or manage complicated systems. And for senior gardeners, there's no heavy lifting or bending. You can prepare the jars at a table and place them carefully from a standing or seated position. As you walk through your garden in the early morning light, the dew will collect gently on the inside of each jar. The plants inside, safe and softly glowing, seem to breathe in the comfort. It's like each one has been tucked in for the night and now wakes up ready to grow. You can also use this method to harden off seedlings you've started indoors. Gradually removing the jars during the warmest part of the day helps them adjust to outdoor life without shock. And when the season changes or the plant outgrows its shelter, just lift the jar, rinse it, and store it until it's needed again. There's something so peaceful in these little glass guardians, quiet, steady, reliable. Just like you, dear friend. Because protection doesn't always need to be big to be powerful. Sometimes the best kind of care is gentle, transparent, and close. Sometimes all a growing thing needs is to be seen and shielded while it finds its strength. There it hangs, a vintage chandelier, missing a few crystals, wires, frayed, no longer fit for a ceiling. Once grand, now forgotten. But don't let its tarnish fool you. In the quiet hands of a gardener, it's about to become a crown jewel, once again not above a table, but beneath the open sky. You might find one at an estate sale, in a thrift store corner, or even in your own attic. The key is in the shape. Those graceful arms that once held bulbs are now perfect for vines, flowers, and even glass baubles. Begin by sealing the chandelier with a waterproof outdoor spray, especially if it's metal or painted wood. This helps it stand up to the weather. Next, choose where it will hang: a strong tree branch, a pergola beam, or a shepherd's hook with enough support. Then train lightweight climbing plants like jasmine clematis or morning glory to wrap themselves around the frame. Let the vines tumble, loop, and play. Over time, they'll soften the metal and blur the lines between sculpture and nature. If you'd like to add sparkle, attach glass beads, seashells, or even small hanging mason jars with battery tea lights. By day, the chandelier catches glimmers of sunlight. By night, it twinkles softly like starfire caught in the leaves. This project doesn't require heavy tools or ladders. You can prepare the chandelier on a table, planting or decorating it slowly, one tendril or trinket at a time. Once hung, it becomes a centerpiece, not just for your garden, but for your sense of wonder. Guests will stop and stare. Children might call it a fairy castle. But for you, it becomes something more: a quiet symbol of how elegance doesn't have to fade, and how beauty isn't something you buy new. It's something you rescue, nurture, and let bloom again. Because true garden art doesn't come from catalogs. It comes from imagination, from second chances, from seeing a dusty chandelier and thinking you're not done yet. Just like us, really. Take a breath, dear friend. Let it be slow and full. As we reach the end of our gentle walk together, I hope your heart feels lighter, your hands inspired, and your imagination wide open. You see, every single idea we've explored, from glowing chandeliers to blooming boots, from broken pots to upside-down tomato cages, shares one beautiful truth. Transformation doesn't require youth money or perfection. It only asks for care, and care you have in abundance. In this season of life where your hands may not be as quick, but your wisdom is deep, your creativity holds a different kind of power. You no longer create just to impress. You create to feel, to remember, to connect, to nurture beauty in places others overlook. That old wheelbarrow wasn't trash. It was waiting to carry life. That teacup wasn't chipped. It was made ready to host birds. That chandelier didn't fall out of style. It just needed sky instead of a ceiling. Every one of these pieces, like us, was once useful, then cast aside, and now, with a little tenderness, brought back to life in a new and unexpected way. Because the garden at its heart is not just about growing plants. It's about growing meaning. It's about seeing value in what's been broken, left behind, or overlooked. It's about second chances for teacups, for soil, for us. So what speaks to you most today? Which idea stirred your spirit, made you think, I could do that? I want to try. Is there an old drawer waiting in your garage, a set of cracked plates in the kitchen, a birdcage just begging for vines? Share it in the comments, won't you? Your creativity may be just the encouragement another gardener needs. And if these peaceful garden moments brought you joy, I invite you to subscribe for more. We're building a community here, one gentle, soul-nourishing project at a time. Before we part, let me remind you, your hands may move slower now, but they still make beauty. Your eyes still notice wonder. And your garden, whether large or small, porch or patio, raised bed or windowsill, is a canvas for hope. May your thrift store walks be filled with quiet discoveries. May your garden glow with evening peace. And may your heart always know there is still so much beauty left to grow. Until next time, happy gardening, dear friend.